Today's video, I want to talk about the Omicron variant and the housing market, how we looking in Q1 and going forward throughout 2022. Some interesting stats. Let's get into it.
Do what you want, do it.
Care experts discover that Omicron is so weak that they do not need to trace the Omicron variant among the people. This is good news for those who believe that Omicron will help with herd immunity. It's bad news. It's bad news for Fauci and his political operatives pushing vaccinations right now. There's a lot of data out there. I attended a conference on a Zoom call in Africa to learn more about what was going on there when this first hit Omicron, and I was very positive with what I heard. And for example, scientists at Case Western Reserve University had preliminary evidence that the risk of being admitted to the hospital or the intensive care unit during the Omicron surge in the US is about half of the risk observed during the Delta surge. And this reflects what doctors, you just got to know where to look. It reflects what doctors across the country are now seeing firsthand with their patients. So, you know, it's more contagious, but less severe than the Delta. That's what we're seeing right now, so that's good news. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. So how is Omicron going to affect the housing market? You know, the Omicron variant has indisputably put a damper on early 2022, and the COVID-19 infection rates continue to climb. Mortality rate is very low, and many may wonder whether we're headed towards another national shutdown of schools, businesses, you know, as life kind of, you know, begins to come back to normal. We all know the first shutdown didn't work. If you follow this stuff and you look at the data, there's a lot of people that don't want to do that, but some people want to politicize and shut it down. They love it. So meanwhile, home buyers who vow that this is the year they'll finally buy a house might feel as if a wrench, you know, the size of a Mack truck was thrown into their plans. You know, for example, will open houses be allowed? Will home sellers pull their listings? You know, maybe they're going to think it's not worth the risk right now. So there have been a lot of surveys, National Association of Realtors, Realtors.com, and looking at trends. You know, what can sellers expect in the coming months and weeks from pulling the empirical data? In my personal opinion, how will it affect the housing market going forward here in 2022? You know, before, if we look at precedent here, the past, before the Omicron variant of COVID-19 appeared on the scene, the 2021 housing market was rebounding healthily from previous waves of the pandemic and turned downright bullish at the end of the end of the year approached. So in spring 2021, Realtors.com and some other surveys I looked at found that only 10% of homeowners plan to sell within 12 months. And by fall, that number had ballooned to 26%. So, you know, these factors had portended a tidal wave of home sales in the new year. And then the new Omicron strain hit in November, you know, followed by, you know, a December dip in new listings. And, you know, when you talk about was the sudden drop due to Omicron or, you know, just, you know, what we see around the typical holiday season, you know, could have been the case. You know, looking at the economic data, what people are saying, you know, overall, I'm reading and seeing from clients, people feel optimistic that Omicron won't halt the housing market's momentum going in, 2022 here, since, you know, particularly since this variant appears, as I said earlier, milder than the predecessors right now. Yes, it's more contagious, but it's milder. People are asymptomatic. So, you know, but as far as the virus, you know, seems to be a lot more contagious, but also a lot less negatively impactful in terms of sickness and death. So if you kind of look at precedent in 1918 and in the 1950s, have also shown that the virus has become more contagious but less severe over time. So maybe this thing is patterning out, is what we're looking at when we look at history And indeed, indications from South Africa, where the COVID-19 strain was first detected, showed a steep surge in cases, followed by a rapid decline. So there's some reason to expect that the latest wave of the pandemic in the U.S. will follow suit if you look at the trends. So Omicron doesn't seem to have hit the economy as hard as previous waves either right now, but we do have those massive supply chain issues which are not helping at all. So the GDP and economy have survived fairly well. We don't know how much of it is a mirage. You know, right now the housing is weathering the variant so far. If you look at retail sales, consumer confidence, and other indicators show, you know, optimism in the road ahead overall. So I think, you know, bottom line, even as COVID-19 infection rates climb, most experts are bracing for a shutdown like we saw during the first wave of the pandemic in spring 2020. But they're starting to talk about it, and there's people that want to politicize this issue. So hopefully they won't go that route. So I don't believe, from what I'm reading, that Omicron will have much impact on the selling season, and that's what some of the experts overall are saying. You know, the Delta variant did not seem to slow things down in a lot of different markets, experts were saying. And, you know, for example, the number of homes that sold in Nashville in November of this year was higher than the numbers sold in November of last year. So if you look at the micro in different markets and you see upswings in a lot of markets, that's good news. So the upward trends, both in sales and the median price per sale, is continuing overall. So people are getting out there. Interest rates are low right now. There might be some hikes. So why isn't it stopping the home sellers from listing today? Even in the face of the high COVID-19 infection rates, many home sellers are still eager to list in the new year because, frankly, they've been on the sidelines long enough thinking, when is this going to end? It's going to end. We'll just wait a little longer. And they want to get on the field. And most listing agents are seeing no shortage of buyers in their retrospective markets, particularly with more people taking on remote jobs than ever before in a hybrid model. A lot of these companies are doing, where people might go to the office 1 or 2 days a week on rotations. So there continues to be huge pent-up demand overall. You know, brokerages are seen throughout the country, and auction houses too that I follow. I think the take-home lesson for sellers, those who list should expect plenty of offers, although only time will tell whether we'll see a repeat of the frenzied bidding wars of 2021. I'm seeing still multi-offers out there. So obviously, Omicron isn't scaring off home buyers right now, which is a good sign. I think people are more educated, and we understand this virus a little better. And meanwhile, Omicron, yeah, it's not, you know, deterring buyers that much right now. So I think many of today's home buyers, much like have put, you know, their house hunts on hold for the past, let's say, 2 years of the pandemic, but now they're sitting in their house cramped up, and it's time to move for the family and get what, you know, their forever home, what they're looking for. And I think people are more willing to take a calculated risk to upgrade to a place that better fits their lives today. And, you know, things are all still lined up that it's still a good time. Younger parents, you know, maybe having their first or second child and need a bigger house, or, you know, a different school district, what have you, is the chatter out there. So I think when we talk about the suburb, there's still a bright future for the suburbs in 2022. A lot of people are leaving city centers, but like I said, I'm optimistic about the city centers. They're not going to die, in my opinion. There'll be a hybrid version. So in addition to the outgrowing their homes, home buyers have another urgent reason to hazard some of the tours right now, even with the Omicron lurking, because mortgage interest rates are expected to, you know, go up soon. People know that, and hopefully their realtors are educating them on that. So we got some rate hikes that might be happening in 2022. So buyers are acutely aware that the current mortgage rates are just above 3% right now. You know, they've been flat Rates are expected to rise, so people, want to hurry and capitalize on this right now before rates go up. Home buyers this year should brace themselves for plenty of competition. I think that's still going to happen. And we're looking for some investments outside the state of California. We're seeing some stiff competition out there. So there's huge demand, but there's still short inventory. As we all know, the inventory is real low. And I think the first half is going to be tighter with more bidding wars than the second half. And that's when a lot of the rate hikes are going to happen. So there's going to be some big changes in the spring. And we have to see what's going on in the political climate as well, which is uncertain. So one reason Omicron likely won't slow down home buyers is there's so much of, home touring's happening virtually rather than in person. So it's still going on. People are confident with that. In 2020, during the first wave of COVID-19, video and virtual tours were more of a novelty. People didn't understand it, were a little worried about it, that certain buyers and sellers resorted to when in-person viewing wasn't safe. But by now, though, virtual tours have matured into far more sophisticated, commonplace, and experience overall is positive, and the technology and companies have jumped into the space. And a lot of people, over 50%, are buying homes unseen just off technology and video tours. So a lot of people, have had a year and a half, 2 years to practice the virtual tour and marketing, and it's more robust now for real estate brokerages, and they understand it, and they put together nice packages for clients. So I think a lot of people that are savvy in the tech space have taken the fear out of the process, and buyers feel more comfortable buying a home without walking through it. So I think in 2022, buyers will need to bring their A game and start preparing early. That means making sure you have a current mortgage pre-approval. They expire over time, watching the interest rates closely, working with your real estate professional closely, and getting ready to bounce. Be ready once your dream house appears. So you need a hands-on broker agent, who's texting you, what's going on in the market overall, what they're seeing, different pockets, sending you information, because things can change very quickly. You got to be on top of it to win a bid, and you got to know how high you got to bid. So you got to be on top of it. So real estate in the wake of Omicron, and some kind of what's ahead. I think experts anticipate that Omicron will be more of a blip overall than a bomb on this year's real estate forecast. Although there's talk of this Ebola thing in China now, great. The one real wild card is whether more variants are on the horizon, and that's the problem right now. And it's hard to project, but on broad balance, we'll likely see continued variants in 2022. Spain and people in the European Union announced that, hey, this is like the flu. We're just going to have to live with it. And maybe we're just going to have to live with it. Yes, putting our lives on hold forever, it just isn't something humans are meant to do. We're meant to live. And that's what we need to do. We need to live. And I think it is promising what the European Union is looking at, that, hey, it's going to be here. It's like the flu. There's going to be seasons of high, seasons of low. And we all know 300,000 to 600,000 people worldwide die of the flu. And we all know that COVID-19 is more dangerous when you're older and you have comorbidities, a minimum of 4, compared to the flu, which I've had the flu and it's taken me out. And the flu can take you out without comorbidities. So I think people are more educated on COVID-19 overall. It is out there, and I know someone personally that was in great shape that passed away. He was only 50 years old and had no pre-existing conditions. So there are some outliers out there. But overall, where you should feel confident is the data does show that 99.7% of the entire world population, and that includes people over the age of 70, if they get COVID, they don't go to a hospital and they don't die. The mortality rate is very, very low. In children, it's 0.0 to 0.2, and everyone is focused on cases. Every day people get the flu and get sick. I would just say, don't focus on the cases, focus on the death rate. What's the death rate in the city? How many people are dying? Are the hospitals overwhelmed in a certain area? And get educated on it. There's cases of the flu every day, but how many people are just walking around not getting sick from COVID? A lot. So it's out there. We need to be aware. We need to be safe. We need to talk to your doctor. But so far, housing's looking good, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. But there will be more variants, and the fact that this is a weaker strain is good news if you look at history. You know, when you go back through history of 1918 and the 50s with viruses. So, God willing, we'll see. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.